This podcast is part of the New Soul Radio family of programming. For more amazing programming or to listen to our 24/7 Neo Soul and R&B stream, download the New Soul Radio app for Apple or Android. Just search New Soul Radio. That's NUSOL Radio.
The following thoughts and opinions do not represent New Soul Radio, Solsei and Company, or any of our affiliates, advertisers, or sponsors.
You're listening to Dr. Shirlyn Speaks on NewSoulRadio.com.
Good evening. Welcome back to WSOL, New Soul Radio, Dr. Shirlyn Speaks, and this is Dr. Shirlyn. Guys, I am so happy about the show that we were able to do last night with LaDonna Williams, and we talked about healing. And she kind of brought together everything that we've been saying regarding historical trauma, and then moving it forward to healing. We've talked about COVID-19 and how it's affected all of us, how we all have complex trauma that we need to look at and we need to address. And the thing that stuck out most with me for our topic last night was related to how we are not dealing with our issues and concerns, and that we also feel that we have to handle things all at one time. And so we talked about how we could just put some things aside, and she gave some great pointers, and she also was able to talk to you guys about the workshops that she is doing. And so if you happen to miss the show, you can go back and you can hear us on Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Audible, and Apple Podcasts, and they'll be available for you shortly. Also, we want to let you know tonight we're going to be talking with a friend of mine, and we're going to also have our dear producer Kim Brio join in on this conversation, because we're going to be talking about a hot topic that you guys always wanted to hear. And we're going to be talking about dating, but we're going to be talking about being happy with your relationship status. And so this was inspired by a Facebook post from the gentleman that's going to be joining us tonight. And so I'm going to introduce him shortly, and he's actually going to introduce himself, but his name is Mr. Khalid Scott, and he's a licensed clinical social worker. He is a certified alcohol and drug counselor. He has been doing work in this field. He has a whole lot of alphabet, y'all. So I told him there's no alphabet that's left unturned. He has all of them, and he is doing a lot of work. He is part of a practice that's called International High Achievers. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that, and then we're going to jump into the topic for today. So right now, we're going to go out, pay some bills, and we'll be right back with Dr. Shirlyn Speaks.
Introducing WSOL DB Chicago.
New Soul Radio.
Your new home for Neo Soul and R&B. Streaming 24/7 on our website, mobile app, or your favorite internet radio directory.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Download the New Soul Radio app or simply say, "Hey Alexa, play New Soul Radio." Powered by Solsei and Company. What does your soul say?
So guys, help me welcome Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, say hello to the people.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're watching this show. Pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, thank you. And then we also have our illustrious producer and owner of the station, Miss Kim Brio. Kim, you know what to do.
I am here for more abuse, you guys. As you know, for the past month, Shirlyn has been beating me, and I'm here for more abuse. So thank you for being here to witness my abuse.
Notice, guys, she's claiming I'm doing the abuse, but she keeps showing up for it. So we're gonna let her do it.
She's the big sister. I'm not gonna say no. I'm just gonna have an attitude while I do it.
That's okay. We work with attitudes. That's what me and Mr. Scott do. We specialize in attitude development, I believe. I think he would enjoy. He would definitely agree with me. So, Mr. Scott, you have 28 years of experience, and you inspired the topic today by a post that you made. He and I are definitely Facebook friends, and we've done a couple of different things on platforms together, talking about relationships. And I wanted to have him come on so we could talk about some of the things that he's doing and how he's feeling about this topic. So, Mr. Scott, introduce yourself.
All right. Well, again, Dr. G and Kim, thank you for having me on your show. It's quite a compliment when folks ask you to be part of their family and part of their village. So I'm all for it. And it's a topic that I love talking about and been talking about for the last couple of decades because it's very impactful to our community and our village. Again, my name is Khalid Scott. Yes, I've been a social worker for 28 years and never regretted a day coming into this interesting industry, to say the least. Never been a bored day of my life in 28 years. And I absolutely love it. During the day, I work at the Veteran Affairs VA, Jesse Brown, working with homeless veterans who have not only substance abuse issues, but mental health issues. And then at night, I work with DCFS wards and their family, providing individual and family counseling. And then I also have a private practice called International High Achievers, where I primarily perform individual therapy and marriage therapy. And not only am I a social worker from 9 to 5, but from 5 to 9, I'm still a social worker. You know, I'm the one
all day.
Right. I get the phone calls and it's like every day, all day, Khalid help. Khalid help. Sad to say, I have about 9 friends who are going through divorce right now. And when I first introduced myself to do private practice a year ago, this month, last September 2020, was because I kept hearing, like everybody else, all of these couples are having a hard time cohabitating in their home together because of COVID. And I was starting to get calls and hearing other clinicians talk about, guys, are you all getting marital therapy referrals? What's going on? And it hit me that, wow, this is an untapped population
Absolutely.
that I hadn't had to deal with before. And as soon as I put myself on Psychology Today, I was flooded with referrals to the point I had a waiting list. And I worked with these 9 couples for about a year. And, you know, sad to say, a lot of them, I wanted to tell them, you all just need to go to the 30th floor at the Daily Center and
get it over. Get it over, call it quit.
Cut the ties, cut it out. But you know what? At least they wanted to get the help.
Exactly.
And out of the 9, 2 end up filing for divorce. And that saddened me. Because I wanted all of them to win. And,
but let me ask you this. Because we're in the midst of, we're getting ready to talk about it. Sometimes, is it not okay? And this is just your personal opinion, to just go ahead and cut the ties and see that as a win.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. But I'm always clear that every divorce costs us greatly.
It does.
Every divorce costs us great. Every demise of any relationship costs us something.
Absolutely.
On the back end. But then I understand also, because I'm a living testimony, that you can be successful and single. And be okay.
And so that
real okay.
So that is the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, because of the post. And I know that a lot of singles get this, well, you got to be in a relationship. You need to be with someone. You're too good of a guy, or you're too good of a woman, and you shouldn't be by yourself, or they try to fix you up and do all these things. And as we're looking at Kim's face, this is a part of the conversation that she's coming into. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago about how it's been a difficult dating arena for people, and people that are in their late 40s going into their 50s, and then those that are in their 30s, they are having a very difficult time. So 30 and up, they're having a very difficult time finding and attracting the mates that they might desire. So I'm wondering, what are you thinking about the dating market, as you would say, or the dating pool at this point?
This pandemic has done something to all of us. And I think primarily it has made us it has forced us to sit back and retrospect and reflect and say, what's my next move? How do I want this next chapter of my life to look? And what's going to make me the optimum of happiness, or give me the optimum of happiness? And a lot of us, including myself, have said that, you know what, I don't want the non-peace in my home. I don't want the non-peace in my heart, in my head. And if I have to walk on this journey for now alone, I'm going to be okay with it. And I'm going to be the greatest single person walking right now. Because the more you work on you individually, the better a mate, a spouse you will be once you do go back into a relationship. And think about this. I'm a divorced man who has multiple married people coming to me for advice.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's shift that paradigm. It's supposed to be, you always hear, well, why would I go? And one of the husbands, when I opened up my private practice, asked me, well, why should we be getting counseling from a man who don't have that ring on his finger? And I said, well, brother, let me explain why I'm the greatest therapist, marriage therapist you should have. So you will never question this ever again. Sir, I have dated, courted, lived with, engaged, married, separated, divorced, and healed. I've been through all 8 steps, all 8 processes. You're right here. You're still married. My motivation to help folks in your situation comes because I had to go on the 30th floor with the woman I love the most and have to hear the worst of both of us, and then have to help a child navigate in a world that says mommy and daddy are not together. And God knows I didn't want my daughter to be from a broken home. I didn't want her to have that statistic on her, but life happens.
Let me ask you a question. And this is something that I've often pondered, and by all means, Kim, jump in when you would like to. But one of the things is I've heard that term. I am a product of my parents never married, but my mom and my dad, both of them are now divorced. And so my siblings came from those type of homes. And so it was something that they endured and I watched, because her first marriage I was in, and it was abusive. Yes. Is it truly, I learned some things that I didn't want to have happen from that. But then I also, on the other hand, was raised by my grandparents who had a very successful marriage, 69, 70 years, and then 50 years. So I saw that growing up. And so having both of those, is it really a broken home? I ponder that, because is it better to have them in a home where everyone is unhappy or miserable, and being from a broken place themselves, or is it better to be in a relationship, a single relationship as a parent, letting them see you be happy, even if you're single, which is not a disease, you're single and you're healing. Right. Is it better for that to occur? And I know that those are questions that people from the audience would probably like to know. What are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. Well, we know the optimum scenario is mom, dad, children, happiness. Now, when that goes south, it's okay for it to be mom over here, dad over here, children right here, with still wrapped around a village of love.
Exactly.
That's optimum. So the happiness is always the beginning, middle, and end goal. Okay. And whatever the mom and dad have to do to make sure the village is happy, we got to do.
I think that that's the shift that people need to hear. Yes. And so as you ponder these things and the thoughts of people that are even significantly thinking about even ending the relationships that they have, and they're coming to see you and they're talking to us as therapists, about these relationships and they ponder, I think that they also need to hear that that is the optimal end goal and end game, is that people are happy.
Yes.
And that you're coming from a place of brokenness, but you can achieve wholeness.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But you got to put the work into it. And you got to, right. And you got to stop listening to the outside voices.
Absolutely.
You know your situation better than anybody out there. Because it's funny, when I was going through my divorce, the people who I turned to help me, fast forward 9 years later, they were going through stuff in their marriage.
Right.
Now, I was hurt and upset because they weren't there for me, but I didn't know they were struggling.
Yeah.
So what could they give me? Because they were in broken scenarios.
And so as I was talking to Kim, this has been my mantra for the last couple of months as we've been doing these shows. I kept talking about this and I said it last night. And how can I be there for you if my cup is half full or half empty?
Right.
I have to pour for you as my friend, my colleague, from my place of fullness. My cup has to be full and I have to give you the overflow. So I'm pouring out to you an abundance of overflow. What's left of me, I can't give you what I don't have, right?
Right.
And so you found that to be true when you're reaching out and you're struggling and going through your situation, that oftentimes it sounds to me like what happened was that they were projecting. And that's what I find, that some people project their stuff on you. If you're trying to make up your mind about this relationship, things happen in relationships. We know that things happen in marriages. And so because they're going through what they're going through, sometimes my thought always is misery loves company too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
What are some things, maybe some, you said the 8 steps. Can you go through them a little bit slowly for the audience so that they hear the steps related to, you were talking about, you've been through the 8 steps of, the dating, the courting, and I think a lot of times they miss the courting part. So I need you to kind of elaborate on the courting part, because I don't think they do that where we are.
Okay, absolutely. Well, okay, so think about you entering in a possible relationship. So you're dating that person. Mm-hmm. And in that dating time frame is to get to know you, get to know me, get to know us. So you're feeling the person out. You're doing the initial assessment. Mm-hmm. You're seeing, wow, what do we have in common? What don't we have in common? Am I feeling this person? Is it just a sexual attraction? Or is it, wow, I can kind of see myself being in a long-term relationship with this person. Plus, I want to have fun.
Question. Yes. This is the optimal question, and I know Kim is going to ask this question. When guys are dating at this age, are they dating with a purpose?
At what age?
At our age range, 35 and up.
It depends on the man and his experience. Some men are dating just to say, I want companionship, but then you got to go home. And then some men are like, I don't like being by myself, so I'm interviewing new candidates.
Ooh, did you say candidates?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. Candidates for wifehood.
Okay. All right. Then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you would hope that when somebody divorces or break up a committed relationship, that they've done the work. Mm-hmm. They've looked in the mirror, butt naked, and said, you know what? Here are all the flaws. Here is all the things I need to work on, so that when God blesses me with the new person that I want to be with, that I'm healed and they're going to get the best version of me. And all the mistakes I made in the previous relationship, I don't bring them over to the new relationship.
Right. Okay. So Kim kind of smiled on that. And what we're going to have to do right now is we're going to go out, pay some bills, listen to some jams, and we're going to come back with you in just a few minutes. This is Dr. Shirlyn, WSOL, New Soul Radio, and I'll be right back.
One of the best ways to promote your brand or business is right here on New Soul Radio. With thousands of worldwide listeners daily, you'll reach the ears of listeners just like you. And it's way more affordable than you think. Promote your business on New Soul Radio today by visiting newsoulradio.com/advertise. That's NUSOL radio.com/advertise.
And we're back. WSOL New Soul Radio, Dr. Shirlyn Speaks, and this is Dr. Shirlyn. And I have with me again, Mr. Scott, and we're going to continue on our countdown. And also we have Kim Brio that will be joining us shortly. So as we're talking about the steps to dating and on the path of marriage and all the path that you've already gone down, can you start with us? We talked about number one, the actual dating piece. What's number two?
Number two is the courtship. Okay. The courtship feels like dating, but it's a little bit more substance to it.
Okay.
So this is where, I'm going to meet relatives. You're going to meet my relatives.
Oh, this is the big deal.
Yes. Because now we both assessed that, yeah, you all good. And I'm feeling you like this. And I want to be with you. I want to be with you. And
so, let me stop you real quick. Do you know? And I'm gonna let you get three, but do you know? Because some people have said they know when they meet someone within a few weeks whether they're going to go to the step two, or they're going to hang out in one, or they ghost or disappear.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you think it only takes a few weeks to know if they're going to go to a step two with you?
Especially, like, think about when you was first dating somebody significant. You're on the phone all night with them. You know,
Yeah, I remember
you're immediately setting up the date with them, and you're sitting there, and where the wait staff is like, well, can y'all please leave? Y'all
right, get going.
You know, the restaurant closed 2 hours ago. You know. So you're doing all that front work. So by the time I get to court, and I really have a good grasp of who you are. Okay. Also, this is the time where we kind of start making little relationship errors, where we're not asking all the right questions. Does your family have mental health issues?
That's the first question I ask.
Right. Is it substance abuse issues? Is it some criminal stuff going on that I need to know about? What's the finances look like? What's your fecal score? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but remember, we want to keep it nice and surface and sweet and feel good. But asking those questions can maybe like, whoa, wait a minute. You kind of being in my business right now. But it's important.
It is.
It's important. Especially before we get to engagement.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions? And then I can go on?
You can go on. Please go on.
Okay. So during that courting process, and then again, with each one of these, they are not time sensitive. It's however long, you know. Some people, I know of somebody who was engaged for 10 years. Okay, absolutely.
You guys cannot see my face. You cannot see Kim's face for 10 years.
10 years. 10 years. And I have a client who was with someone 20 years, no marriage, no children. And now they're in session with me because of that. So again, that's why we got to ask the right questions.
Absolutely.
Why we got to ask the right questions. So then you get past the courting stage where I know this is the one. I want this person to be in my future. I want children. I want a home, and I want all of us with the same last name.
Well, there you go.
Okay. So then I get engaged. And engagement is you take it again, another notch from dating and courting, where, it's like we are really about to do this. We are about to become a family unit.
Right.
And I really need to know who I'm getting with. And then we start planning a wedding. Start planning a wedding. And then we start seeing people's horns starting to grow.
Exactly.
Because when you're planning a wedding, it's about finances, it's about time, it's about bringing the families together.
The blending.
And then you find out his mama don't like me because I'm high yellow, and she don't like high yellow women.
Oh, did you say that? We talking about colorism now?
Absolutely, and with our families, you know, or I was a mama's boy. My mom depended on me, and when now I'm about to get married, she like, who this heifer? Who she think she is?
Right.
I still sit in the front seat of my son's car. You get in the back.
I think that might be me one day, but I'm gonna work on that. You're gonna help me through that phase. I have an only child. Like,
absolutely. So then we have couples who during this time we get pregnant. You know, the plan was to be that when we're married, but life happens.
Life happens,
you know. So then we go into the actual marriage.
Right.
And this is where we have to understand the wedding was one day.
Absolutely.
The real work comes that night when we took all the gifts home, we took down the decorations, we went back home before we leave out for the honeymoon, if we're going on a honeymoon, and like, we belong to each other now.
Exactly. You become
one.
Ain't
no playing.
No,
it ain't no going back.
Nope.
You know,
papers have been signed, right?
Absolutely.
Signed, sealed, and delivered.
Right, and then we're in the full engagement of being married folks.
Right.
With all the hit and misses, the pretty days, the ugly days. You know, the better or worse. You know, sick and health. You know.
And I wonder, do people actually these days get, you know, we say those vows, but do they actually get the vows? Like, do they actually? And so, they don't. No. And so can we dwell on this a little bit of kind of what you are seeing?
Yes. Yes.
Can you kind of explain some of the things that you see?
Yes. For generations, for centuries, especially us Black folk, we never really had good role models when it comes to marriages. Think about how we first got together as slaves, how we had to have secret weddings.
Yes.
You know, and how, you know, you could be my wife and I had to watch our master molest you. Absolutely. And it was nothing I can do about it. Or you had to watch Missy Ann come and mess with me as your husband, and there's nothing you can do about it. Or we have these beautiful Black children, and then because of how the master is feeling at the day, he could sell our children off.
Right.
So that's what we go into, okay? And then let's fast forward to our great-grandparents, grandparents. You saw a lot of granddaddies marrying 14-year-old girls while they were 38 years old.
Could we talk about that? That's another segment.
Right. Absolutely. Then, like, if you like my granddaddy had 5 kids outside the marriage, and he beat my grandmother every day of her life. Okay? So and my mother, my aunties and uncles had to watch their mother being abused and neglected and damaged.
Wow.
So then they get with people. And remember, look what's been role modeled to them.
Absolutely.
So for generations, we've seen dysfunction in marriages. So come 2021, you all are in my face doing counseling, and we got to try to clean centuries of dysfunction up. And it can be done if you want to put the work into it. But see, we live in a society that, you know, there's shows called Scandal.
Please.
That says being a mistress is the end thing to do.
Absolutely.
Why would you want to be a wife when you could be a mistress, make 6 figures, wear booming clothes, and sleep with the president of the United States?
Right. And look, and he can still go home to her, leave me alone. I can still have my life outside of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's when side chicks kind of took the front seat instead of the back.
Right. And I'm very self-disclosure. My mom was a mistress for 16 years, you know, and Mr. L, he did not keep my mother hidden. You know, we went to family reunions down in Arkansas.
What?
Yes, because back in the day, that's what men did, and you better not complain.
And so they said they always have a man will be a man, right?
Man will be man. Absolutely. And us men have still been given permission. Go out there and be with as many women as you want to be. Because guess what? Your wife gonna forgive you anyway. She gonna take you back. And now women on like, you know what? If you gonna do that, I'm gonna do it.
Yes.
So and let me tell you how this looks. Us men, we're sloppy. We're sloppy. So what happens is the young lady sends me a naked picture. So instead of me driving up in my garage, looking at the picture one last time, and then hit the delete button, I don't do that. Because I want to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and look at this picture again, you know? So then I come home, I lay this phone down on the nightstand and I go and take a shower. Now, most men, guess what our passcode numbers are? What is our passcode numbers? My birthday, my passcode is my daughter's birthday, 0821. So women know that 0821, boom, naked pictures. Now, a woman can have that same picture, but her passcode is her best friend's son's nephew social security number.
Yes.
So now us men, we'll be doing, wait a minute, birthday, no. Her mama's birthday, no. What's the passcode? See, that woman, no. You'll never find out. I'm going to take it to the grave. And anybody I tell, they're going to go to the grave with me.
Correct. Now, you see, and it's so funny, you guys cannot see these expressions, but we all know this to be true. Yeah. We all know this to be true. And so it's just, it's coming to light. And so as you guys are listening to this show, I know that you are chuckling because you already know that this is the truth. Right. And so you're not saying anything that's wrong. You're telling the truth, and you will never guess that password as long as you live. But the funny part is these couples these days, I don't have anything hidden from my husband or my man. My passcode is 1799. He can go in my phone at any time. But guess what? That might be the phone he goes in, but probably has a burner phone. He don't know nothing about it.
Absolutely.
Ooh,
absolutely. Absolutely. Look. There you go. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on now. Wait a minute. Wait a minute now. Hey,
exactly.
We know the game now. Let's do that. The game. So, in fact, let me tell you this story real quick. I have a friend. He's divorced like me. We've been friends since kindergarten. He had a barbecue this past Sunday, and we watched the Bear games and ate. You know, it was the fellas, afternoon out. So it was him and myself, and 5 of his married friends, right? Now, my friend who's divorced, he goes to Brazil twice a year. And
almost.
Dr. G, don't do it. Don't do it. You know why men go to Brazil. Don't even play. And you know why we go to the Dominican Republic. Don't play with us. So what happened was, he has taken most of his male friends to Brazil with him, except me, because I was raising my daughter. My daughter is now a sophomore, 19 years old. So now I get to be Khalid back to me now, because my daughter is grown and gone.
Right.
So he's like, well, Khalid, I want you to go to Brazil. I said, okay, I'll go. While I was sitting there, him and 5 married men were telling me what you do when you go to Brazil. And they was like, well, Khalid, it's not really prostitution. Those women have to eat, so they got to make money. So I said, whoa, wait a minute. I'm in a room with one divorced guy, my buddy, and 5 married men. And they're telling me all the exploits and what they do. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, Gene, I'm a licensed counselor, social worker. I ain't never going nowhere to commit a crime. And that's extortion. Mm-hmm. That's extortion. Mm-hmm. So man, don't pretty it up and put a bow on top of it. And I'm like, guys, y'all don't know that Black Chicago is small. I might know y'all wives.
Right.
One of y'all wives might be my cousin and I don't know it.
Exactly.
So think about what you're putting out there in the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
So then I'm driving home and I'm like, wait a minute, these folks sitting up here trying to make me feel bad about being single, but I just left a barbecue with 5 intelligent, good-looking, got it going on Black men who are bragging about cheating on their wives in another country.
Okay, so perfect point.
Okay.
And you saw Kim's face, you saw my face, because I know what goes on in Brazil and the DR. And I have those single friends as well, and the married friends as well that go for that. Yeah. And I have to respond to them as a therapist like you. Yeah. But do you realize that you're putting your own life in jeopardy, one, but also that of your wife by the stuff and the antics that you are doing. And you don't know what you're doing. And you do who you're doing it with. And so we have to have that conversation. But the other piece of it is that it's just a casual thing for them. And and in their mind, it's a normal thing.
Yeah.
And so again, the boys will be boys.
Yeah. Yes.
But then
trust me, when I left out, they wasn't like, Khalid, you know what? You are absolutely right, brother. No. Eugene, how dare you take me to that Sodom and Gomorrah place? Bad, Eugene. They was like, Gene, the heck what he's saying.
We going. Right, we going. See you when we get back, sir.
Boom.
And they were out.
Right.
So yeah, I hear these conversations, and you guys should see Kim's face as well. And she's making all these comments in our chat as we're talking. I won't read them for you guys, but she definitely has plenty to say, and she's going to join us in our conversation. But the marriage part is people think that the dating part is the easy part, and it could be difficult, but the marriage is the thriller and vanilla really. And
the meat and potatoes.
It is hard work.
Yes.
And what I find now is that it definitely is easier. What I want to say is that when people are in this type of relationship and they are in the marriage portion of this, these steps, that when it gets really tough, people, and they start to express their concerns to others, I hear a lot of times from women, why don't you just leave? If you've been abused, or not just the physical abuse, but the worst kind, emotional. Mm-hmm. And why don't you just leave? Why didn't you leave? Mm-hmm. And I feel that people are very judgmental.
Yeah.
And so I hear that, and I'm like, how can anybody tell you when to leave? So I use the example of, I think it was Whitney Houston, who said that she had that sugar and milk moment. And she decided right then in that moment that she was done, and he walked away. And nobody can tell you when that moment is. You have to come to that on your own.
Right.
And that realization.
Right.
So in doing that, I find that women, and you can talk about from your perspective, a lot of times women have already left. They don't just wake up and leave. The emotional piece of them is gone long before the physical.
Right. It's been a transition. Absolutely. And that's a good segue. So after the marriage has not done and lived up to all the expectations in this Disney movie that we called a marriage, what we hoped it was, it didn't have a happy ending. Mm-hmm. So now we have to go ahead and go our separate ways. So separation. Mm-hmm. And separation is like, wow, this is when we're going to be mean-spirited to each other.
And why?
Because my Disney movie didn't have a happy ending. It didn't have a happy ending. And now, and for us men, it's like the money we about to lose, the X on our forehead. Because when you're a man and you get divorced, people treat you a little bit differently. They sympathize with the woman. But when you're a man of divorce, what happens is you're the villain. You did something wrong. You have the X on your forehead. Because why would she leave? What woman would leave a marriage? You had to have done something wrong. Bad, bad, bad. So you're instantly vilified, and you could have been the one who got hurt.
Exactly.
You know? And then when you're a man, I can't go on platforms and discuss my hurt and pain and dismay and grief, because how dare you? You're a man. Suck it up. And so what does the world tell us men to do right where we get separated, divorced? Go and get with the next woman.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Instead of doing the work.
Instead of doing the work. So women go into counseling. Women have a group of girlfriends who take them out to the Grand Lux, and they have their cosmopolitans and fruity drinks, and they get to cry and sleep on the couch and de-escalate and unwind and get it all out and vent. Us men, we got to put on our soldier cap and like, keep on, let's go. And then I go and get in another relationship without doing the work. And she, the new woman, inherits the mess I just left.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
In that separation, now the kids are feeling it. Daddy ain't in the house no more. Mommy ain't in the house. They don't like each other. Mom, they putting stuff on Facebook about each other. And it's getting back to me. I'm hearing the arguments, you know? And then we got to get ready to go to court. And then we got to hear about custody. And remember, most custody goes like this. As the man, you're going to get every other weekend. So from having my kids for 30 to 31 days, now it's on drop that I see my baby 4 days a month and have to pay child support. So for somebody like me, absolutely not. I went for 50-50 joint custody because I need all my Anaya time. All of it.
There you go.
All of it. And my ex-wife called herself being slick. Well, I said, So my lawyer was like, Miss such and such, you own a school, don't you? Yes. You acquired that school while you was married to Mr. Scott, right? Yes. Do you want Mr. Scott to take over half that school? No, I built this school up. You need to go and give him 50% custody then, right?
Right.
Then she signed her name on the paper. But I had to almost like blackmail.
And I don't understand that coming from this perspective. When you have a father that is interested and is good, that's a good father and wants to be involved.
Because I hate you right now. I hate you.
I get it.
I hate you.
I get it.
I hate everything about you. I hate the way you smell. I hate your eyebrows.
I hate all that.
Right. I hate all of it.
Look, if you guys could see this face and his eyebrows, I know you guys are going to go look at it. So you'll understand this whole comment.
Right.
But the last thing is that it is the case, and I can say from my own childhood, as I look at, I told my mom this, she didn't put my dad's name on the birth certificate because she was hating him. So I go to my own birth certificate every time I have to pull that sucker out, and I look, and there's just my mother's name. I was like, lady, you didn't even put his name on the birth certificate? Yeah. And she was like, I hate him.
I get you. Yeah.
But you realize what that does to your kid.
Yes.
So it's a badge. It's a badge that I now wear because of you too.
Yes. Yes.
And still at my age, as I'm transitioning to this new decade that we're not telling them about, but as I transition to this new decade, all of this time has elapsed and it still stings every time I have to pull it out. Because
Absolutely.
You two could not get along, and I am the child in between.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a segue to divorce.
Mm-hmm.
It's over with. It's over with.
It's over
Legally, it's over with. Mm-hmm. Not physically, because if you share a child, it's not over with.
It's never over with.
No, it's not. You know, that child still loves mommy, and that child still loves daddy. Mm-hmm. Y'all still got to come to graduations and assemblies and award ceremonies and birthday parties, whatever you agree to.
Right.
And you got to learn who you are now. Now that I'm divorced, I can't blame everything on him. I can't blame everything on her. Mm-hmm. That's it. So then I'm like, going to counseling, because now you got to flush out all that toxicity. Mm-hmm. You got to flush it out, because at the end of the day, I still need you to be an appropriate, and I need you to be a magnificent parent to those kids.
Absolutely. So I've got to transition out for just a few, pay some bills, listen to some jams, and we'll be right back with Dr. Shirlyn Speaks.
Take New Soul Radio with you wherever you go. Download the New Soul Radio app in the Google Play or Apple App Store by searching New Soul Radio. That's NUSOL Radio.
And we're back with WSOL New Soul Radio, Dr. Shirlyn Speaks, and we are with Mr. Scott still. Now, we have gotten to the divorce. What comes after the divorce? Because it's not over yet. And I still got to see your behind at all these family gatherings. I got to see it when our kids are older and they get married, and we got to be at the wedding, and we've got to be at the birthdays of our grandchildren. I don't never get rid of you. I don't never get rid of you. So we might be divorced on paper, right. But what does it really look like?
Right. And see, that goes, let's go all the way back to number one, dating. This is the person when you got to decide, no matter what, I can still look at this person, whether it's 5 days from now or 50 years from now. I got to still be able to look at them. Okay. And then date, and then after divorce, you got to go through that whole process again. You got to go back to number one, dating. I remember 6 months after I got divorced, I got a buddy, and he's the player of Chicago. I promise you, if you have 10 friends, female friends, he's dated at least 3 of them. That's who this dude is. Right, I'm telling you. And I remember him asking me, it was on New Year's Eve of 2012. He said, Khalid, have you started dating yet? And I said, no, man, I'm going through the grieving process. You know, I lost my family. No, I haven't started dating yet. But why, man? And he said, well, let me give you some wisdom. And it was the best piece of wisdom I ever got. That was so profound. And this is what he said. He said, Khalid, when you start dating, understand this. You will be dating the women that men like me have destroyed.
Yes. Yes.
So I said, wait a minute, brother. Let me take that in. Let me take that in. What do you mean? And I said, man, that's a powerful word, destroyed. He said, brother, I got 8 kids by 6 women, and I didn't marry none of them. You don't think I destroyed their spirit? You don't think I destroyed their self-esteem levels? But see, Khalid, you always the good guy in the room. So what happens is they're going to see that S on your chest. And see, now they're trying to detox from dudes like me, because I make their body feel good. You know, I make them look good when we go out to the birthday party and I'm that 6'3" dude on their arm who they can go and tell the AKAs and the Deltas, look at my man, He fine, ain't he? While he's sleeping with everybody in the room.
Absolutely.
But now at 45, 50, 55 years old, I don't want that life. I want the good guy. So somebody like me I'm resentful. Because you didn't want me when we was in our 20s and 30s. You wanted that dude who broke you. Now I gotta play doctor and mend you.
Clean up, man, right.
And I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. The one lesson I learned from my divorce, Khalid, stop messing with damsels in distress.
Wow.
Because what happens is it will be a hole you will never fill. No matter how much water, sand, dirt, grime, anything, you will never fill that hole. So I have to date healthy women who match me. And then that's why I did something that was a no-go. When I got divorced, my daughter was 10 years old. I made a pledge right then and there that I would not get into a relationship until she got 18 years old. And here's why. I know Khalid, I'm a Cancer. So we crazy, but one of the things is, wait, what? But we're romantic. At least I am. So it ain't hard for somebody to fall in love with all this.
Oh my goodness.
But what I learned about women get jealous of other women, even though the woman is my daughter.
And that's sad.
And I'm like, I was going out with somebody and I was like, well, maybe I might break my rule and be with her. She asked me to go to a wedding. My daughter was being mentored and she was on with a AKA group, and there was a mentoring program. And what happened was my daughter was getting an award on a Saturday, right? So the young lady was like, well, Khalid, I want you to go to my cousin's wedding. And I said, when is it? She was like, June 15th or whatever. I said, sweetie, I can't. My daughter getting an award. Oh, Khalid. Look at my wall and look at my bookcase. It's full of awards, right?
Right. And
so my daughter is the Meryl Streep of awards, right?
And she
made a mistake and said, well, Khalid, can't you miss one award ceremony?
Absolutely not. Right.
I said, this is her first award from the AKAs. Who gonna be her future source? No, I can't miss it. But I thank you for inviting me. So instead of her saying, well, Khalid, I understand because I know who you are and what Anaya means to you. How about this? I'll go to the wedding, you go to the award ceremony, and then Khalid come out to Chateau Boucher and be at the reception with me while we do the Casper slide together.
Right.
It was all or nothing. And I said, thank you, ma'am. You go ahead. Have a good day. Have a good life. And see, that reminded me why I made the decision that I had to focus in on my daughter. Absolutely. And let me tell you, ladies, how it worked out. My daughter from a broken home graduated from Kenwood, number 3 out of 420 last year. She was number 8 when the pandemic started. 3 months later, she went to number 3. She got accepted to Amherst University, which is the number 2 liberal arts college in America, neuroscience major, and a full ride at that $80,000 a year school. So no one can tell me when you commit and you stay true to you, you won't benefit from the dividends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So phenomenal job to her and to her father for playing the role that he played in her life and upbringing. And so I think that, it's important because you did bring up a big concern that a lot of people do have, is that people when they start dating and they date unhealthy people, that they do become jealous. And how do you become jealous of a child? My child comes first, because that is who, until I am married to you, who gets all of my attention. He gets my attention. And so that's the thing that it's just mind-boggling to me that when you're at a certain age. So
let me throw this caveat out. Most men don't do what I do.
True. Oh, I definitely don't put them in that category.
Right. So what happens is most men get separated. The day they get separated, they on blackpeoplemeet.com meeting Tamika.
Khalid, they were on there before they got finished.
There you go.
You know that.
There you go. You go. So women are not used to guys doing what I do.
Absolutely. And so I want to make sure that I put that out there. You are not the typical guy. You are not. And so that's kind of where we are focused in this conversation as well, is that there are some good guys left. And I think that women do need to hear that. There are some good guys out there. But the thing is again, is who you focused on. And so I'm always the girl that likes the nerd. That's me, because I am one, and I'm okay with being one. So that's who I am. You don't have to be the nerd. You don't have to be all that, but I like people that I'm able to have those conversations with, to do things with, all those things. And so you said they focus on having that guy on their arm to impress other people, but what happens after you've impressed them? What comes behind that? And I had a young man that I was doing a assessment on, and he came to my office, and I know that you're going to have to go, so we're going to wrap this up, but he has so many children's mothers, and when I'm saying over 6, and he is definitely not married any of them. So kind of the same kind of aspect that you were talking about. Well, I know that we're going to have to wrap up, and I know that we hopefully are going to get you to come back so we can finish some of this out. What are some parting things, if you're going to give tips to our listeners, what are some things that you want to leave with them?
Absolutely. Folks, please hear me, and hear me with everything in your soul. Have the greatest love affair with you first. Fall in love with you first. Be your own priority and option first. Because when you have the greatest love for you, you won't tolerate anything that's beyond you. You'll see something coming 5 blocks away and be like, stand away from me, Lucifer. Stand back. And understand this, men are quadruple attracted to a woman with confidence. A woman of desperation, we start planning how we're going to do her dirty the first day. But when you're a woman of not arrogance, confidence.
And there's a difference.
And it's a difference, because you can't emasculate a man. Can I emasculate a man? Because then he'll hate you and he'll destroy you afterwards. But if you're confident and he knows it, you'll have all of us. You'll have all of us. So have that greatest love with you first, and then everything else. Since my daughter has went away, I love the empty nest, because I have not been lonely. I have not been lonely. Absolutely. And that's why I wrote that post to say, guys, I don't need y'all to worry about my status. I'm all good.
All good. In all capital letters, I want to add. Love it.
Absolutely.
Well, I truly thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon. You do know that you will be back to finish this.
Please have me. Please have me.
You definitely are definitely going to be coming back, because we need to finish the conversation. But thank you. And so before you go, you have to give them how they can reach you.
Okay, absolutely. Again, Khalid Scott, KHALID, LCSW. I am both on www.psychologytoday.com. I'm also with my private practice, www. Oh my God, I just went blank. Highachievers.com. I'm sorry. You can reach me at 312-43-SCOTT. 312-43-SCOTT. And I'm on all social media platforms.
If you're serious about your health and productivity, listen up. This one's for you. Sometimes it can feel like you're taking a boatload of supplements all of the time to address so many different things. Well, what if I told you that I found one that improves your productivity, focus, mood, energy, and quality of sleep? I know it sounds too good to be true, but this all-natural Shilajit resin has been used for centuries and has even been dubbed the destroyer of weaknesses. I tried it and I couldn't believe how much improvement I saw in myself in such a short amount of time. Learn more about it and get 10% off of your own natural Shilajit resin by visiting the New Soul Radio app. Productivity, focus, mood, energy, and quality of sleep. Why isn't your phone in your hand? Get your natural Shilajit resin today on the New Soul Radio app.
Hey, you guys, we're back. WSOL, New Soul Radio. This is Dr. Shirlyn Garrett, and I'm with Dr. Shirlyn Speaks. Guys, we have had an amazing time with Khalid Scott. We had just gotten into the conversation and it got really, really good, but we're going to bring him back. I want you to be sure that you are keeping in touch. If you need a therapist, you can reach him at highachiever.net. Again, H-I-G-H, achiever.net. And so you can look him up. He's on all platforms of social media and is available for therapy, clients and patients. He does the family therapy and individual sites. And so if you look it up, you will be able to see and make an appointment to become one of his clients. So with that being said, I have to go into the following week. We're going to have further conversations about relationships and relationship status. We're going to have Dr. Keena Arnold, and she's going to talk to you about the book that she has written. And so we will have her up next, and then we're going to try to circle back around and have some more conversation about these relationships, because my God, we all have work to do, right? So this has been Dr. Shirlyn Speaks. But before I go, I don't want to forget that I have to do my shout outs of the week. Okay, guys, here we go. I have to shout out my ever-loving son, Bruce K. Wilson II, who is at Grambling State University, and he is a singer, y'all. Mama's too proud. So, Bruce, you are definitely the wind beneath my wings. I love you. I'm super proud of you. Can't wait to see you. Also, I have to shout out my students at Chicago State University. Thank you guys for always listening in, giving me feedback, and also bringing more listeners. Keep it coming. We're enjoying this. Also, I have to give a shout out to Mom and Dad Carter for always taking care of the little sister, Miss Kim Brio. She needs help, y'all. They love us both, though. And then my cousins who are in Shreveport, Louisiana, my siblings that are all over the state of Texas, and also always to my parents. Thank you guys so much. And with that being said, I hope you're going to listen in next week. And I will end by always saying, I'm a woman who's convinced that she deserves the best. I challenge myself to give the best, and then I'm living phenomenally. This has been Dr. Shirlyn Garrett at Dr. Shirlyn Speaks. You guys take it easy. See you next week.